Most of my previous coaching conversations always had the teacher at the center. And while the teacher is the person that you're coaching, the ultimate goal is always the students. So I really started to think that I wanted to set my goal around exploring student-centered coaching. My original goal was to go through a complete coaching cycle with 2 or 3 teachers. However, by October and our 4th learning model, I knew that I had bitten off more than I could chew. After learning about the 3 stages of Jim Knight's impact cycle, I wanted to try using the 10 guiding questions to structure our post-observation conversation, with the ultimate goal being for Rama to identify her own student-centered goal. This was the first time I had used a recorded lesson for data collection with a coachee, and the first time Rama had watched herself instruct students in a recording as well.
So first of all, thank you. Thank you for the post-observation we had, because it was really useful for me. I am not as bad of a teacher as I think that I am. And it was really helpful to speak with you about what my student needed. And what I appreciated the most was how encouraging you were. And a great skill that you have is that you asked me the right questions, and the questions that you asked me provided me eureka moments. From there, I was able to figure out what my student needed and what I could do for him so that he could succeed. I also want to say thank you for providing me culturally relevant ways to differentiate for him, like about talking about his emotions and using emojis, just things that he could really connect with. Thanks to you, I was able to come up with a clear plan on what to do with him and how to set up the lesson so that he's more successful. So thank you.
After revising my goal and having a successful coaching conversation with Rama, I knew I wanted to reapproach my colleagues to see if I could find someone to help me practice my skills at my own school. It wasn't easy. A lot was in our way. As a classroom teacher, I have always found the data from learning walks an important piece to improving my practice. Facilitating a learning walk was a new experience for me and for my technology coach. We both felt it was really powerful to record the student learning in this way. Finally, in March, I was able to find time to practice my coaching skills with a colleague at my school.
I also was a little bit just sort of unsure how it would be having more of a PYP inquiry teacher from grade 5 come into a high school MYP class, but I found that actually that wasn't really a concern at all, that it's really all about the learning, and that is definitely common. between the MYP and the PYP experiences.
When talking with Sarah before the observation, she wasn't exactly sure what she wanted me to look for. I decided to use this resource, which focuses on collecting the language of the classroom, one of the cultural forces Ron Richart had spoken to us about this year. I used the Notability app to color code my various conversations with students, capturing images of their learning and quoting their conversations.
Then this makes me think like it would be worth having a conversation as a science team about it, because it can't just be what we're seeing only in grade 9, but it'd be good to have an understanding about like how could we support this from middle school, and then knowing what we want where we want them to kind of go for the rest of high school kind of thing.
Even though there wasn't a specific student-centered goal that came out of this conversation, Sarah felt like she had something that she could take back to her team and a few things to try right away.
So we hadn't totally settled on exactly the purpose of her visit in advance, but through her observations and actually through the debrief, it became quite clear that the thing that I was looking to get a little bit of feedback on and perspective on was around the language of inclusion and the language of initiative. And Emily was able to use the framework from Cultures of Thinking to provide me some feedback that I wouldn't have been able to get on my own, because when you're in the moment of teaching, it's really hard to be that reflective about the types of language that you're using. I wasn't really sure what to expect going into that debrief session, so perhaps my only suggestion for Emily to think about would be, I think I would have appreciated having some of the questions from Jim Knight's impact cycle is what I know she was planning to use, perhaps laid out a little bit more in advance so that I had a little bit of lead thinking time, so that we could really make the most of that, because I did feel in a few occasions in our conversation that I had to pause and I wasn't perhaps as prepared to think about those questions as I could have been. Something that could happen is if in a coaching role would be if the coach wanted to share the questions in advance or ask the participant if that's something that they'd like.
My learning journey did not go as expected, and that's okay, because being a flexible problem solver is a major part of being a coach. I learned just how important having a focused, manageable goal is for growth. Taking on this course load while being a full-time classroom teacher in the middle of a pandemic was extremely challenging. It felt like the rules were constantly changing. I think it would have been great to have the mentor tier to help me differentiate the tasks for my current situation. Being a part of the Coach micro-credential has rejuvenated my passion for coaching, and it has allowed me to grow my own articulation of the role. I have been able to build my knowledge and practice around a variety of coaching models. This year has allowed me to strengthen my knowledge and my personal coaching philosophy. I look forward to furthering my skills within a coaching culture as the next step in my learning journey. In the words of Jim Knight, to be professional is to constantly seek ways to improve practice and deepen our understanding. So I'm not really at the end of my journey. It's only just beginning.